Welcome back. You're watching CNBC TV 18's live and exclusive coverage here as we decode Budget 2015. Through the course of the day, you've heard what market experts have had to say, what tax experts have had to say, what corporate India has had to say, and of course what the government and the budget makers have had to say, explaining their rationale behind the budget numbers. It is now time to give space to political voices here on CNBC TV 18. Joining us today to take us through the politics of Budget 2015, Jay Panda of the Biju Janata Dal, also with us Rajiv Chandrasekhar, member of the Rajya Sabha, with us BJP member N.K. Singh, former Finance Secretary as well, and R.S. Surjewala of the Congress Party. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Mr. Surjewala, the government has had its say, so let me come to the opposition now as far as the budget is concerned. Your party president Sonia Gandhi has called this a corporate-friendly or a pro-corporate budget. The former finance minister, Mr. P. Chidambaram, has said that the kindest thing he can say about this budget is that it is an anti-poor budget. Explain to us why you would say that, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, because if you look at what has happened as far as subsidies is concerned, the number has not been touched. If you look at the UPA's flagship scheme, the NREGS, the allocation has in fact been approved. In fact, the finance minister says he'll allocate another 5,000 crore rupees if tax buoyancy were to be strong. Why do you say that this is an anti-poor, anti-people budget?
Shereen, is that question to me?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, I'm sorry, I lost the audio momentarily. The budget is clearly anti-poor, anti-farmer, anti-rural. In fact, it is anti the common man also. The reasons are very, very simple. The growth rate, if you see, of agriculture in the economic survey 2015 has gone down from 4.7% to 1.1%. 33 lakh hectare area not cultivated. Crop remunerated price is down. Basmati rice and cotton crop both failing. 1,000 farmers have committed suicide. The total food grain production is expected to go down from 275 million tons to about 257 odd million tons or 250 odd million tons. Yet there is nothing for the farmers in the budget. 90,000 crore is the collection that the finance ministry is doing by putting 4 times increase in excise duty and also increase in customs duty. No calculation of that benefit to the farmer and to the common man. Instead, post-budget they increase the price of diesel and petrol by over 3 rupees. What a joke, cruel joke that is. So there is nothing for the common man. There is no personal tax incentives that have come. There is no incentive on saving. And there is nothing for the rural area. And if you see the budget of Narega also, just one line I'd like to add. Last year he allocated 34,000 crore rupees. But what did he give actually? He only gave 13,800 crore rupees. He's going to do the same this year. He's actually constricting Narega year after year by not making even the planned allocation.
All right. You've made several points there. I'll get other comments in before I come back to you, Mr. Surjewala. Let me go to the Jay Panda from the Biju Janata Dal. Jay, would you agree with the arguments that have been made by R.S. Surjewala that this government has actually done nothing or not enough as far as the poor of this country is concerned, that this budget has stopped short of addressing the consumption needs as far as the middle class is concerned? They've stopped short of providing relief on personal income tax. So the finance minister was very clear that if again he does have revenue buoyancy, he will address that matter as well. Would you be a little more charitable than R.S. Surjewala, or do you echo his views?
Let me comment in 2 broad categories. One is as far as the budget impacts the country and the overall economy as a whole, and I'll come back to that in a moment. And the second is the perspective of the regional party, since I do represent the Biju Janata Dal. In this second category, Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik has already raised 4 big objections to this budget. One is on account of discrimination, that special package has been given to some of our neighbouring states, and yet a backward area like KBK in Odisha has not got it. Another one is that the Finance Commission recommendations, which is being talked about so much in this budget, actually penalizes states like Odisha, which have done more than the national average in terms of population stabilization. And a couple of other things like this. So this is a reservation that I think not just the BJP but also other parties around the country have. Now the first item that I wanted to talk about is that if you look at the overall national economy, clearly this budget has been received by some sections, particularly industry, very positively. And it looks like this is going to encourage them to invest and try to reach the 8.5% growth rate that the finance minister is talking about, and also aim for double-digit growth. But it also has some very serious outreach to the bottom of the pyramid in terms of the many social security schemes of insurance that have been brought out, and the very aggressive stance taken on curbing black money. In many ways, I think you could say that this is a sweeping budget.
Okay, so you're saying it's a sweeping budget, so you're not on the R.S. Surjewala and the Congress camp denouncing this budget. So let me now get in a neutral voice. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the Congress says it's an anti-people budget. Jay Panda is somewhere in the middle, saying that it will provide a general economic lift, which will of course be great as far as the general mood of the economy and the investment cycle is concerned. He does have specific concerns, which in a way the finance minister did say that he will try and address all state-related concerns, perhaps not in this budget, but later on as well. How would you rate this budget, Rajiv Chandrasekhar? Do you believe that this budget has done enough to revive investment, and it's also done enough, for instance, to talk about providing a roadmap as far as the social security for everyone is concerned, pension, insurance? Do you believe that this budget has done a good balancing act?
Shereen, let's leave the politics of politics of criticism that is the signature of political parties aside for a minute, and let's look at this dispassionately. Coming into 2014, this government inherited essentially two big problems. One is that because of the fiscal government profligacy, the government did not have any headroom to do anything and was constrained by its fiscal deficit. And on the other hand, successive years of scams and corruption had turned investors away, and there was obviously a risk aversion in the whole investor community, both domestic and foreign. This is the first budget that really addresses these two issues head on. It addresses the fiscal issues of the government and creates space for the government to start investing. 80,000 crores of additional investment are going into roads and infrastructure. Now, by no stretch of imagination is this anti-people or anti-farmer. Roads and railways help every Indian. On the other hand, it is now laying out a roadmap through structural reforms and using public investment as a catalyst to bring the private and the PPP investment into the overall construct. That will be gradual, it will take time. But for people to argue that this is pro-corporate and anti-farmer is either being deliberately wrong, or because they haven't read the budget document. It is
I guess that's what politics is about, Rajiv Chandrasekhar. As I said, I was playing devil's advocate, and I'll go back to R.S. Surjewala to respond to the comments coming in both from you as well as Jay Panda. But let me bring in N.K. Singh of the BJP. Mr. Singh, you've heard what Jay Panda, R.S. Surjewala and Rajiv Chandrasekhar have to say. What, according to you, as a former finance secretary, has been the big highlight as far as this budget is concerned? And do you feel confident that on the back of the levers the finance minister has been able to push through this budget, we are going to be able to get to that 8.5% growth rate? We are going to see capex picking up. We are going to see a revival as far as the investment climate is concerned. We are going to see a revival in consumption.
Well, I think that you're going to see all of that. And I do believe that I agree with Rajiv Chandrasekhar that I wish Mr. Surjewala would have also pointed out, and so would Mr. Chidambaram have conceded, that I left the economy in shambles. I left it with a sub 5% rate of growth. I left it with an unsustainable current account deficit. I left it with raging inflation, and I left it with investment sentiment which knocked India off the investor radar screen. In comparison to that, in a short period of 9 months or so, which this government has had, and this budget has contributed to the ongoing initiatives, which the economic survey has correctly pointed out, builds on creative incrementalism in terms of reinforcing the initiatives already taken, And what this budget has done, apart from a credible path of fiscal consolidation, which I agree with you, is a very important achievement, achieving the daunting 4.1% fiscal deficit target left by Mr. Chidambaram in a way on which I wish that he himself had been there to answer how he would have met 4.1% without creative accounting engineering, to put a mild word. This budget has put together, on the revenue side, a credible, stable tax regime, has really put aside the contentious issues of the direct tax code, has left in the cold the guard, has sought to align India's tax rates to best global practices and to average ASEAN rates. And in terms of the expenditure side, without knocking off subsidies completely, targeting them much better, ensuring that it reaches by a combination of what technology has to offer and the direct cash transfer benefit. In terms of a huge investment, I agree with Jay, on infrastructure, both in railways and highways. In terms of actualizing the stranded assets of 7% of GDP, which the economic survey had brought out rather dramatically yesterday, of getting those stranded assets back into the track, and of creating institutional mechanism which will improve the ease of doing business.
Hold on, Mr. Singh. Hold on. You pretty much listed out everything that the budget has attempted to do, but let me get R.S. Surjewala back into this conversation before I get into the break. Mr. Surjewala, you're clearly in a minority of one. Even Jay Panda is supporting the point of view of Rajiv Chandrasekhar and Mr. N.K. Singh. And let's be honest, Mr. Surjewala, as was being pointed out by each of our panelists, the economy is in much better shape today. You were talking about this being anti-farmer, but look at the kind of allocation that the finance minister has made as far as irrigation and the irrigation sector in specific is concerned. Black money was another issue that you were talking about. They're now talking about a black money legislation being brought about. Can you really be so uncharitable as to say that this budget has nothing to offer?
Shereen, I wish that all those things that are laudable words that are being used, some of that had really translated on the ground. There is no problem as long as the country propels forward, political differentiations can be set aside. But what is the truth of the matter on the ground? When we say the economy was down, we must remember that the crude was also $135 a barrel. We left it at about $114 a barrel, and it is $54 a barrel. So 90,000 crore rupees that the finance minister gets out of putting excise and customs duty is the one that he is flowing back in terms of infrastructure investment very well. But what happens to 60% of India's population and 49% of India's workforce which is involved in agriculture? Despite all these laudable figures, close to 2,000 farmers from Andhra Pradesh to Gujarat have committed suicide. Can we deny that? Can we also deny that there are abysmally low prices for both rice and...
I know you're not going to be convinced on this matter, but gentlemen, on that note, I am going to have to take a quick break. But when we return, we are now going to talk about what we can expect in the budget session from here on. The government has reaffirmed its commitment to try and get those crucial ordinances passed. How difficult a challenge is that going to be? That and more when we return here on the special conversation on CNBC TV 18.